surprise. You have opened my eyes. I see love, powers in you. Such a beautiful view of the world. Healing is real. You recreate what you feel through your words. No hiding away. You mean what you say. Your strong brute force put me right back on course. Not hard to see. This is healthy for me to face the fears that I've had all these years. Just do one thing, one thing. You need to bear it all, bear it all, bear it all. You need to bear it all, bear it all, bear it all.
Hello, everyone. I'm Darrell,
I'm Devon.
and this is A Little for the World. All right, before we get started, I do want to thank you for doing this with me and for joining me. How's your week been so far, for the most part?
You're welcome. And so far, the week has been slow but steady. Been doing some yard work when I can, but I've been doing a lot of hand-to-hand combat training, getting caught up on that. And had a Zoom meeting with my model agent yesterday, and it was only like 45 minutes, but it was like some runway training, and so I had to like do some walking, and it was weird. But week's been good. Week's been productive and very nice. What about you?
That sounds awesome, by the way. Slow and steady is sometimes good. Slow and steady is really good, actually. But yeah, I'm happy you've been able to, get things done and also give yourself time. For me, for the most part, it's been slow and steady as well, but also kind of productive. I've been working on my project, reading a lot, doing a lot of writing, having artist dates. I think that you and I should do a proper introduction to one another because this is actually our first time actually sitting down and talking face to face. So I am gonna actually start introducing myself to you. Okay.
Cool beans. Cool.
Darrell. I'm 20 years old, from New York, live in New York, grew up in New York, and I am a writer. Well, I'm an artist. I love to write. I love to direct, film, anything creative I love to do. And I'm learning so many things about myself and about my creativity. So I'm not limited to just those things, is what I'm trying to say. So, yes.
Nice. Okay. Wasn't expecting that, the directing and the production part, but I'm gonna go ahead and start. My name's Devon, Devon Anthony Boston the third. Anthony is my middle name, and it's my favorite name in like the whole world. So it's like this is a weird thing I've always had when I was a kid. My middle name was just my favorite. But long story short, a big part of who I am and like the start of me becoming an artist at all was my middle name and this obsession with the name Roberts. And so I created this character called Anthony Roberts, and that film has been like the foundation to like a lot of my work. And so I love music. I was on the marching band from sixth grade all the way to when I graduated high school. And so I did a lot of trumpet work. I did a lot of marching and concert band. And other than that, I love writing. I love production as well. I'm currently working on a really, really big project. It's going to be my life's work, and it's pretty much a multiverse of characters and beings. And, that's everything. That's me.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. When did you say you created that, by the way?
The first character of mine, like the very first one, I was 6.5 years old when I created my first character.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I think it's amazing as children that we, like the way we can do that and we can bring things to life. What really led you, besides the name, to create this character? And like, what inspired you besides that?
All right. So when I was a kid, this is a wild story, and I've always wanted to tell people about this. So, anyways, when I was a kid, I had the wildest imagination, like most kids, but I had this weird admiration for like films and characters in movies, and so when I would play with my fingers, it was pretty much the two legs, the two arms over here in the head. I would like reenact movies and stuff and use my imagination and pretty much cross my legs, lay on my bed, and I would tell my older brother, "Shh, be quiet, be quiet. I'm going to the future." And I didn't know what that word really meant at the time. I just thought it sounded cool, and I had just learned it. And so that's how I would play with my stuff. And after a while, I learned my middle name and I learned how to write it down well, and I really liked it. And the last name of the character came from my mom's her husband at the time. His name was Tony Roberts, and I looked up to him because he was a musician. He would tap on his fingers really cool, and he had like a lot of cool personality traits at the time. And so I looked up to him, and his name was Tony Roberts, and my middle name was Anthony, and I loved it. And I was like, boom, Anthony Roberts. And then I started making new movies with him and characters and stuff. And that was the start of it.
It literally started with your hands. And when I was a kid, I actually used to do things like that. Like, so hearing you say that is actually like, wow, because I actually used to do things like that and create characters. But what I would do is, for the characters, like, I would use like shirts and stuff to put over my hands to like really create like an identity, like a detailed look. So like if the person had a dark hair, I would use like a black shirt. If it were a girl, I would like keep the long shirt over or like fold it for a boy, like just things like that. So that's actually really interesting to hear you say that. And it would be like, I would be so into it, like you wouldn't even understand what I would be doing, but like I knew what I was doing. But I remember like for the longest time, like as a kid, I would do it around my mother only. But then like as I started to get older, I guess I didn't want her to know I kept doing it. So like I was like 12 and I was doing it, and like she would come in the room and I would just like put the shirt down. And then she would be like, "You're playing with the shirt?" I would be like, "Yeah, I am." But she never shamed me, and she was always like encouraging of me like being a kid. You know what I mean? I want to reintroduce myself to you. I just remembered something. I didn't say enough. I personally don't believe. I think I said to you what I'm used to saying to people. I think that these are the things that actually matter to me. Well, they are. And I think that this is the way that I should introduce myself. So I'm going to read these to you really quickly. I wrote them inside the Salvation book. Okay. Number 1, I want to, but sometimes it won't come out. Meaning that there's a lot in here and in here, but sometimes due to internalized fear or shame, I won't say certain things or allow certain things to live in the world. So that's something that I'm working on now. Like you see, I kind of held back in my introduction, so that plays a part in that. Number 2, I'm an artist. I love color. I love anything floral, anything growth, and I love anything earth, and I love the Cheetah Girls. Number 3, I like to sing. I didn't say I can, but I like to sing. Number 4, I have developed better habits, meaning that I've been finding better ways to live, physically, mentally, taking the time out to actually love myself. And number 5, I'm learning. Number 6, I'm a writer. 7, I'm a director. 8, I'm a huge fan of Little Mix. Do you know who Little Mix is, by the way?
It sounds really familiar, but I'm not too sure. Could you enlighten me?
Okay, I'll enlighten you after I read these 2 more. Number 9, I live in America. Number 10, I'm the son of a single mother, a beautiful woman. So that's things that I want you to know about me, meeting me, and getting to know me.
I like the order, but also I really like that because that a lot of the things I could relate on, and I was like, dang, I should have said that as well because we got that in common. Boom. But that was great.
That's how I felt when you were introducing yourself as well. And sometimes I'll say certain things when I meet people, and then I'll think later and be like, why didn't you say this, or why didn't you say that? And that's always gonna happen, but there's a difference in completely holding back and just not thinking in the moment, and I don't want to hold back completely. But to enlighten you on Little Mix, which is something that I can do for hours, so I'm just gonna keep it very brief. Little Mix is a girl group. They're a British girl group, and they're currently like the biggest girl group in the world, but not a lot of Americans know about them really because they're UK based. But they're very empowering, Like a lot of their music is about believing in yourself, growth, what life is about. I think that's why they're overlooked in America, because they're pop artists, if you get what I'm trying to say. And they don't really include like trappy kind of music with their stuff. They just keep doing whatever they want to do. So I think that's why a lot of Americans don't really pay them any attention. Um, but yeah, they've helped me with a lot and like my growth. We all have those artists who we feel like we're connected to, and that's just that with them, honestly.
Little Mix. I'm gonna have to look that up on YouTube because I use YouTube the most for a lot of my music and just vibes and posting my own music. But I do have a similar little something that really helped me during a lot of hard, not necessarily hard, but a lot of difficult and challenging times in my life and points in growth and emotional understanding. And it's this group of musicians, they're producers. It's called the Glitch Mob. Have you ever heard of the Glitch Mob? Oh gosh. All right. It's a I might have to send you this playlist on YouTube that I have because it's honestly a big thing that I use to work out with, doing Jeet Kune Do with before tournaments. I would listen to this type of music. I've done a short film when I was in high school at the Academy for Art, Science, and Technology with one of their songs. And I wasn't very versatile with the camera at the time, so it's not too good, but it's on my YouTube as well. But yeah, long story short, the Glitch Mob and their music, I'll send you the playlist later. It was a really big, inspirational, positive, energetic type of music that I liked for a while. And I still can listen to and work out to. Helps me.
I like that. I love to listen to Little Mix when I work out as well. I love to. But I do also listen to um like talks and like podcasts when I work out. So like I try to, it varies. But I do have a playlist though that I could send you of music by them that I feel like I would like if someone asked me where should I start, I would just send them this playlist. Definitely send me your playlists. Okay.
And you send me yours. Right.
So now we're gonna get back into the whole creativity thing and the point of creativity, which is to bring something to life, which actually gives us life and it makes us feel a lot better about our lives and ourselves when we bring something to life. And that's really what being an artist is about. Like some days I don't feel well, but then when I do this, I feel really good, like really, really good. And honestly, connecting with other artists, this has been one of the best things, probably the best thing I've ever done in my life. So when I do it, I feel very like I could do this all day. And that's surprising for me because I'm one of those people that'll always be like, I'm so introverted, I don't like people and stuff like that. But what I learned is that I was just had a lot of insecurities and I didn't feel comfortable around people. So that's really what that is. And I actually do love talking to people. I love talking to other artists. And I think as people, we're all artists, but not all of us understand that. So you're not an artist until you consider yourself an artist, I guess is what that is. Now, what truly inspires your creativity?
All right. What truly inspires it? All right. So there's a few things. I'm gonna go ahead and start out with, have you ever heard of a company called Studio Ghibli?
No.
Oh man. Oh, okay. We gotta, if you ever have time, we should watch those movies. I could show you to them. I have the animation plug and Princess Mononoke. Have you heard of that?
I don't know. I haven't actually.
All right. Anyways, all right. That's something I'll get to that later, but it's an old school company. Like they were making animated films in the 1960s and so on and so forth until the 2000s, and they're really good. They take a while on their movies, but they're just really beautiful pieces. I couldn't even explain them if I tried, but that's some of the foundation to a lot of my inspiration. But more than that is hmm, my dreams. A lot of my scripts and my ideas came from my dreams, but they correlated with things that I was creating outside of my dreams because there was always the mentioning of the beings that are the foundation of the multiverse that I'm writing. My dreams would mention of the ethereal beings and blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, those are the beings that I'm writing about, and I'm like, oh, my dreams are starting to correlate, and so now like if I literally, which I got to do, if I look in my book where I have all my films written down, all of my short films and series and stuff, I have 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Sorry, I had to do that. All right, I have 13 dream scripts out of like 31. And so that's just my inspiration for draw, write, and my imagination. That and anime as well.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that. It's beautiful, of course. Like that's amazing. I just love hearing the start of things or like what really sparks people's creativity. And I think that's really awesome. Definitely. And yeah, we do have to I have to get in. I'm always interested to see things. So what inspires me, there's so much. So I'm gonna start with music sense and like performing wise. Now I've never performed or like done anything musically for anybody or the world, but I don't know, maybe one day. Maybe one day. I've been actually more open to the idea because I'm one of those people that always perform in my bedroom and like sing. Like I actually have a microphone just for that. But I've been doing it since for as long as I can remember. So I would say musically, um, people that inspire me right now, Snow Allegra, love her to death. Lauryn Hill, Mickey Echo for sure. There's a lot more, but I would say girl groups have always inspired me for some reason. Like I don't know, I guess the individual, like bringing people together so they could bring their own individualism to the table, it definitely inspires me. So like I said, I love the Cheetah Girls and Little Mix. So like they've always, I don't know, it's that knowing that there's like 4 people bringing something to the table and it works so perfectly, it just makes me feel very capable and like empowered, especially their messages as well. So I would definitely say that um, the sun, I would say, like just in general, the sun inspires me. Movies, for sure. I can't even believe I didn't say that from the beginning. Movies, that's like watching horror movies and like suspenseful things have always been like my reason for wanting to make films and like create suspenseful things and even like books where it's like you're trying to figure out what's going on and there's like the plot twist and it's like some big like revealing thing. That's a lot. That's where that comes from. So yes, movies, television, books. I know there's a lot of things that I'm not actually like able to think about on the spot, but for the most part, those are the things that inspire me.
I can agree with a lot of the ones that you said as well. Like every time you named off one, I was like, dang, I should have said that because same, especially on the music for sure, and the books, the movies. Like yes, definitely extremely inspiring, especially at certain points in time where like things could have been rough, but just watching something, enjoying something, or listening to something, it could really help, especially certain songs. And like you were saying, like the Cheetah Girls, I can't even lie. That got me through some hard times. Like watching that, I'm not all right. A little small digression story about myself. That's like a really important part of who I am. When I was living in Baltimore, we used to have this thing called like wish me sandwiches, and it was this thing that me and my siblings made up because things were like kind of hard a little bit for a while, and so we'd have like mayonnaise, seasoning, bread, boom, wish meat sandwich. We'd have some good ones too, like Sarah based ones and stuff like that. But long story short, we would always have those sandwiches. What they actually smacked. I'm not even gonna lie, they were really good. But we'd have those, and the Disney Channel movies would come on, and there was like that ring that has you running out of the kitchen into the dark hallway. Boom is coming on, the title screen's going, and Cheetah Girl. Bruh, telling you, that puts you positive energy through some roughness and goodness. Like
Mm,
can't even count.
absolutely. It's so funny that when like as you're describing these things, I'm just imagining my past and like my childhood, and like like you said, there's always those things that we could watch or listen to, and it would just take us somewhere else in the midst of a lot of negativity or just like a not so positive structured background. And that's what this is as well. That's what I hope this is for people. You know, that's the point of me doing this. But I definitely do remember that. Like hearing that, like I would listen, Disney Channel was the only thing I cared about, the only thing I watched. Like that was the only reason for cable for me as a kid. So like anything Disney Channel, I was there. But watching the Cheetah Girls now, it's completely different. Like it's like now that I'm older, I understand certain things more. And I can understand what certain things are hinted to. Like during quarantine, I've watched that movie like a lot, like a lot. Cheetah Girls is definitely big inspiration, big, big, big. And they literally started off performing at a birthday party to being in an Indian film. You know what I mean? Like that's what you call believing in yourself. But yeah, so that's that. You do a lot, like you do a lot of things, and ever since like we followed each other on social media, I've seen photography, modeling, and you even act.
Yes, I do. I'm actually, all right. So the acting part, I'm still trying to build my reel so I can get roles that have lines in like the bigger part of the industry. In order to have that, you have to have short films and stuff. And I was actually going to be in a few short films this year, but the pandemic came and sweeps everything away like the Fire Nation. So I do work as a background actor. I'm still on payroll, and they're actually trying to film season 3 in October, so that might be a thing. But Legacies is the show on the CW channel, and I've done season 1 from episode 6 and all of season 2, and I was a mix between a photo double, a stand-in, which is pretty much the person who sets the camera and the focus for the main actors and sets the scene and blocking rehearsals and I've done background acting as well and some feature roles. And so I have 2.5 years under my belt, so I've been doing that as well. Yeah, it's fun, great.
That's amazing. Like that's really amazing, honestly. To be someone who wants to act, like, and you're doing that, that's really cool. Especially people who haven't gotten into it yet. Like that sounds to me like amazing. Um, yeah, I love that. And I know it's a good experience for you to be able to witness and see things. So it's like you're not just thrown into like when you do have like parts in the scripts and like you actually have lines, it's not like you're going to be thrown into something because you're witnessing things, you know? And I love the fact that you appreciate these things as they are and you it's important because then it's like if you can't appreciate the small things, how are you going to appreciate the big things without looking for negativity? And I remember you speaking in your live video you did recently about people, you know, being unappreciative when being in those settings and waiting and, you know, spending a lot of time on set and stuff like that, and how important it is to appreciate what's going on around you.
Yeah, so I remember the live, and I think, or I'm not sure how to truly word it, but there were some individuals on set who just everyone goes there for their own reasons when it comes to being a background actor. So you'll meet all different types of personalities and people with different convictions and oh, this I'm doing this for the money, and then you have the passionate individuals. And pretty much a lot of times on set, there were just individuals who just like you said. I don't think I could truly explain it better than how you put it, but because I don't truly remember how I quoted it, but yeah, there were some inconsistencies with people trying and people understanding certain aspects. Like certain a lot of people come here and work 12, 15 hours, and every single little camera, every single little piece and little setup thing is extremely important and has a lot of time put into by different people and individuals, and it all creates a big vision. And it's a lot of people take that for granted, even if you have like crazy expensive equipment or no equipment at all. The execution of a bigger picture with multiple people is just something that's always powerful. That's why, singing groups of four, so uh, the energy is so high and it's so different. The appreciation for people coming together to create something so beautiful is just something I like in all aspects of life, farming, movies, all that stuff. Beautiful.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like I said, it's important to appreciate the smaller things in life. And once you do that, you realize that they're not as small as you thought they were. So it's like, you know, if you think that way, you think that way. If you don't, you don't. You know, you get what you look for. So if you go into a situation like that looking for a positive experience, you may get that, most likely. But if you don't, if you go in there expecting more than what it is in a negative way, then it will be a negative experience for you. It's really all about mindset. That's really what it comes down to. And yeah, so you've been acting, you've been working on set, you've been doing modeling, you do photography, you create things, you create visuals, you write. That's like, you're extremely talented is what I'm trying to say. Um,
Thank you so much. I highly appreciate that. I don't get it a lot, and it's just something. Anytime I hear it, it's like a hug. You know, when people say things like that, it's like, thank you so much. That's amazing to hear. I highly appreciate it. And I'm gonna just constantly try to have a mindset of constant ascension with my work and with when I collaborate with other artists. And I just want to lift each other up with our positive energy and just constantly ascend with our greatness.
yeah,
And you do the same thing. You do all of those things, and you sing. I need to get a mic set up. I haven't had a mic set up in years. I miss it, and it's like you got that, and you be singing. I would love to sing soon, so soon.
I really enjoy singing. It's just like, I don't even know why. I just always have. And I even wrote a song while being in quarantine, like an official song. And nothing I plan on sharing, but a song that I wrote that is very, I believe, very inspiring. But yes, I've been actually telling myself, promising myself to take vocal lessons when I can. So yes, I'm excited about that. Which is not something I thought about before quarantine. So I don't know. I guess I went into quarantine and came out ready to do whatever, whatever, which is a good thing, really, really good thing. Being that you do all of these things, it's also inspiring because a lot of people, including myself sometimes, think that we have to focus on one thing at a time. But the truth is that it's really about focusing on one thing at a time, but at the same time. So like a little every day for each thing or a little every week for each thing. You know, I learned recently that instead of having 100% of one thing, it's good to have 1% of 100 things. So in that sense, we're more fulfilled. You good? Okay. I was making sure you didn't freeze.
Yeah, someone was calling me. That's my bad. My bad.
So everything was so. Now, I do want to let you know, like after watching the video that I saw of you a while ago about masculinity and like, you know, being a man and addressing what hurts us in our society and the way we can either continue to contribute to that or change it in a positive way. And I really, really appreciated hearing the conversation because it's something that people don't really talk about enough, or at least from the people that I follow and influencers that I watch, they don't talk about it. In terms of the way things affect you and the way things affect me in society, us being men, us being Black men, we understand this upbringing of being told that we should not be emotional. Other men would be like, what are you doing? That's for girls. Or even women as well, who were taught that by their fathers or society. What are you doing? That's for girls. You know what I mean? So I did want to tell you that I'm proud of you for addressing that and talking about it and allowing yourself to still be creative because it's not as normalized as it should be. Like this is something that should just be what everybody does, but it's not. So I do want to say that I'm proud of you for doing that because it takes a lot. And I know that it took a lot for you to learn and go throughout the years and throughout this year for you to reach that point where you were like, all right, I have to say something I have a point, I have to reach out, this is important. And I really did appreciate watching that. And it's so beautiful how you could be in a certain place and then someone is in a certain place and you guys align at the same time. And I always appreciate that because it just goes to show that we're not different. We're not as different as we think we are. So I do want to talk about that with you in terms of toxic masculinity and the effects that it has on us as children and why we need to tap into those things so we can grow. But before we get into that, is there anything you want to share or talk about in terms of that video and what you were talking about?
Well, first I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for just being honest. You're very transparent, and I highly appreciate it. I had to do it. It was something that was very powerful. Like it just came over me, and I was like, I've only done an Instagram live maybe like once or twice, and this is something I want to talk about and maybe use to help someone so someone doesn't have to go through what I went through, and in the way that I did, of course. And so it was. I just turned it on, started recording, just started spilling out what my emotions were feeling in the form of words, and it was great. I was really glad to see you on there. There were some others on there, and that, like, you were even saying certain things about what was going on in your life at the time. You were really in there, not only just listening and understanding and relating, but even giving more of that same type of energy into it. It was great. It was great. Um, I'm glad I did it, and I'd be willing to do it again. Hop on live and just give everyone a checkup and the same type of talk. And one thing I will want to say is that emotions is something that society doesn't truly take serious enough to understanding when it comes to just a lot of things. And I feel like it's something that should definitely change. Like the government is in marriages and they're in the paperwork and the divorces and so on and so forth, but they don't truly understand certain emotional things. And like, long story short, the foundation of society when it comes to like patriarchal thoughts and patriarchal ideas and things being in place, it really changed a lot of things in a lot of families, especially being black. Like that can cause a lot of traits. If one was in the military, that can cause a lot of traits. And toxic masculinity is it's something I'm glad I've learned to understand how it was in me, how it wasn't in me, and also how I can go away from it. And just all those things combined was like, boom, it's good to cry. Boom, it's good to, if you're sad, like, oh, man up. Like, no, that sometimes you just gotta feel it. You gotta let it go through
Yeah,
you. Mhm.
definitely. And it's like we're people, like I think people forget that. Like before race, we're people. Before gender, we're people. And we relate on things a lot more than we allow ourselves to believe. I think that to make sense of gender and race, and like people like to see the world be very structured in terms of this is what these people are like, this is what these people are like, this is what men are like, this is what women are like. So that way we have these concepts and ways to live in our minds so life is not as hard. But the thing is, these aren't the truths. So like when we experience things and we experience acceptance and self-acceptance, we freeze because we don't want to do that because that's not what we were taught to do. So that's why I really appreciated hearing you talk about it because it's important. And the thing is, if you didn't talk about it, who's to say that we would be having this conversation so this soon right now? You know what I mean? Like it's like a piggyback. When you do something positive happens. And from there on and so forth, it just keeps on going. But if you do something negative piggybacks off of that and it just keeps on going. And if you do nothing, nothing happens. So it's beautiful to see that other people find it important to address these things. And it helps me feel like, no, like, you're doing the right thing, keep on going. It assures me. And I think as artists, when we see each other doing positive things, it assures us and it inspires us rather than have us feel competitive or like one has to be better than the other. we're the same and we all just want to change the world. That's really what it's about. So I told you about this book that I'm reading, Salvation by Bell Hooks, Black People in Love. And it also addressed the topic of masculinity and men and the way that other men have the potential to shut other boys down and, you know, continue the cycle of letting go of their dreams, not believing in themselves, and being angry. And the stereotype of angry Black people. And, you know, there's a stereotype of angry Black women, but there's also a stereotype of the angry Black man, the gang member, you know, things like that. And, you know, apart from other people being ignorant and having these stereotypical mindsets, we can also change the way things are going on by encouraging our younger men to believe in themselves and tell them that it's okay to be emotional, or that whatever they're interested in, it's important to pursue that. And it's important to have courage and be confident in that. Now, I'm going to share a few things with you that maybe you relate to, and then we'll just piggyback off of that. When I was a kid, I was told by the men in my life, I wasn't raised by my dad, I was raised by only my mother and my dad's sister. So my mom and my aunt, they were my parents. They are my parents. And my aunt supported my mother the best way she could. And between them two, they were my safe spaces to be an artist. And my grandmother, like the only people who I felt like I could do certain things around. So like I told you, I've always loved to perform in my bedroom, and I would have a microphone. And, you know, if I were doing that, but I was lip syncing or singing a female song or a Cheetah Girl song, if the men and like my uncles around, they came around, it would be a different story, and I would be shut down, and I wouldn't want to be seen doing it because I knew what that would result in. But around my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, I was okay because I knew that these were people who I was safe around. And I still felt the shame though. So like if one of the women in my life would walk in on me, I would feel like, you know, insecure. I would sing a little lower, or sometimes I would stop. And to them, it would be like, continue, like, we know what you're doing, go ahead. But that internalized shame that I developed from the other Black men in my family who were telling me that I was wrong for doing what I love to do, I just thought that it was wrong. And I decided that I wasn't going to do it anymore at a certain point in my life, and that I was going to try to be something that I wasn't. And it wasn't a good way to live, and I wasn't happy. And now it's like, you know, I'm doing these things again, and I'm being who I am, and it's a much better way to live. It's the only way to live. And yeah, that's pretty much that. But being shut down and being told that I was wrong for doing those things, and being called gay for it by like my uncles and the men in my family who were insecure and didn't really tap into who they are, it was like, okay, so now what if I am? Do I want that? No, I don't, because that's a bad thing, obviously. So it just put a hold on so many truths that I discovered about myself that I tried to ignore and block off for so many years. But eventually it was just like, I can't keep on that way. And I had to tap into what everything really was and know, you know, how is this going to be different? What's the truth about me? Who am I? And it took for me to address what they did to me, and, you know, not victimizing myself, but pointing out things for what they really are, and knowing that if I don't, I may do that to the younger boys in my family, not noticing. And I remember one time my uncle, he was asked by my grandmother, you know, why are you doing that to them? And he said, we went through it, so they have to go through it too, which is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard in my life. And I'm happy that I heard that, and I'm happy that things happened the way they did, because now I know the importance of making sure that I support the younger Black men in my family. And recently, a younger cousin of mine, he came to me and, well, no. An older cousin of mine came to me and he told me that my younger cousin asked him if I were gay. And that's not a conversation that I had with everybody in my family because I'm not as close to everyone in my family because I don't really, I like to be around people who actually I feel loved by, like my chosen family, which are my good friends, my mother, my aunt, my grandmother, you know, and then a select few of people in my family, which I had to learn that sometimes I feel bad about it, but I think that in order to love myself, I have to be selective and smart. Um, but yeah, so basically my older cousin told me that. And then I pulled my younger cousin aside and I told him, I said, listen, you know, I was told that you had questions about me. And I was told that, you know, because I have piercings and stuff like that, you wondered if I were gay. And I told him, it's okay to be inquisitive. It's okay to have questions. It's okay to be curious and it's okay to ask. And instead of shutting him down and, you know, like verbally abusing him for having a question, I told him, listen, if there's a point in your life where you want to have a bunch of piercings and you want to dress a certain way that makes you happy and it's who you are, do it. Because you won't be happy unless you do. And that was just that. And I just left it at that. And that's an example of the way we need to encourage the younger men in our lives. Because I don't see enough of it. I don't see enough of it in my family. I see a lot of talking down and I see a lot of cursing. But the thing is, it's so normalized that I've laughed at it. We've all laughed at it. But now it's more serious to me than what it was before. Things are very, toxic things are very normalized in our society. And the conversation that we're having now, if you really think about it, like someone like me who was shamed as a kid by people, I'm here changing the world in a way. And it starts like this. And it's like, instead of talking down on children, because they're our future. Now, let's say I did not realize these things about myself and I decided to keep on with living a false life and false identity. I wouldn't be doing this right now. So whoever this reaches, it wouldn't reach. So our children are the future. So it's our responsibility to say, hey, X, Y, and Z, you're beautiful. Do what you love to do, because things like this grow from that. Now, if I didn't have my mother or my chosen family, I don't think that I would be able to do this right now. You know, I don't know. Maybe, but it would be a lot harder for me to really express who I am. Experiencing genuine love from people who I even pretended to be something else when I met them, and them learning who I really am and loving me even more. It was like an affirmation in a way. I didn't expect to talk about this much stuff, but I'm happy that I did. And I'm going to give it to you.
Cool beans, cool beans. That was beautiful, well said, and I can relate on so many different things, especially the last thing you just spoke on. Pretty much where I am right now. Okay, I forgot some things. I was born in Baltimore. I lived there for about 7 or 8 years, and then from there I lived in South Carolina. I was pretty much raised there, but I'm currently living in Georgia and living with what I call my chosen family as well. It's pretty much I met the younger brother in Carolina Forest High School. He was a lot younger, and I saw him again some few years later. But I really met my boy Nadir in college. We clicked just listening to music, vibing, and having the same point of view on a lot of different things. And our friendship grew over time. And I was around the boys. I met the mom from she was coming in from Jamaica, and I was spending a lot of time around them. And we just over time have become family. Like it's amazing, and I totally understand that feeling when you refer to the affirmation. And I said that funny, but the affirmation and pretty much how you worded. I couldn't repeat how you worded it, but how you worded it, that was perfect. I could relate to it, and that's currently the starting point to a lot of my different learning processes recently about myself, my energy, my consistencies, my toxic tendencies that I had before, and the ways to fix them. And especially when it came to a lot of my emotions that I wasn't quite understanding about myself. Uh, I feel you. I definitely feel you. And that's pretty much everything. Just my small mirror of reflection off of what you said. A lot of what you said was just spot on. So I don't know how I would personally word it myself. I'm just like, yo, preach, facts.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate
Cool.
everything that you're saying as well. It's important to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people for that. And that's what's so important about addressing toxic masculinity, because little do you know the people in your life, they need you to be better so that way your relationships could be better. And things could be completely different. The way people interact with you, it has a lot to do with what you give them, the vibe you give them, the connection you give them. Everything isn't personal, or just people hold back when you hold back. People pretend when you pretend. When you're honest, people are honest, and that's what I learned pretty much.
All right, so I do have one random, not necessarily random, but I meant to ask this question when we were on the topic of the industry and the arts before, but I forgot to ask. So I wanted to ask you really quickly because I also have my own thoughts on it as well. Do you have a character that you idolize and in the industry, in any movie or show that you would like to play? Like if they did a live action take or something, or if you wanted to play a certain character, who would you do it
Hmm.
as?
I would play a role of a character that I created in a script that I recently wrote for one of these, when I recorded one of these with a good friend of mine. Her name's Castelline. She's an actress, and I've seen a lot of her shows. Beautiful, beautiful work. So for an exercise that we did, I wrote something for us to just read and do a cold read of on here. And the character that I would be, his name is Mackenzie. And I'm going to explain to you, actually. I would love to play him as an older guy, and the way his life ended up and him embarking in an artist journey. I relate to him a lot, and I wrote that script with his character, with myself as a child in mind. And his cousin, her name is Liza, there we go. So Liza McKenzie, they live with their aunt and the man that she's with, her significant other. And he's not a positive role model. He is very verbally abusive, physically abusive, and his aunt is basically just a caregiver for them. And by the way, another thing that this book talks about is the importance of love and not just caregiving. So a lot of parents or guardians, they say, I put clothes in your bag, I feed you, what more do you want? Um, Genuine love, connection. That's a lot more important. And it goes beyond being a caregiver. So basically their aunt is their caregiver. She doesn't really support them emotionally or anything like that. And one day what they do is they decide that they're going to commit suicide. But they're children, so they don't really know what it means to commit suicide, basically. So one day, Liza is hit by their uncle, Emmanuel, and she's crying, and it's just her and Mackenzie in the room alone. And Mackenzie's laughing because that's what he was taught to do. Remember earlier I mentioned that when other people in my family are verbally abused, or it's something that other people would laugh at, or when your cousin is beat, you would laugh at it. And now realizing that it's actually terrible. Um, Basically, he was laughing when she was crying, and she's like, "Why are you laughing?" And he's like, "I have to laugh." And she's like, "So they won't hurt your feelings?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" So basically, she hands him something, and he takes it from her, and he's like, "Thanks, but what are you talking about?" So she hands him a bracelet kit that she was brought and she uses it to, like, make bracelets and stuff. And he loves to play with it, but he can't do it around their parents because that's not something that a boy should do, according to them. So, sometimes she'll sneak it to him when no one's around so he can play with it. And basically they start talking. And this is when they realize that they have to be there for each other. And they know the same pain, whether they realize it or not. So now they start to realize that. And things are not so normalized anymore. And they start to have a conversation. It's not as intellectual because they're children and they don't really understand everything for what it is. But for the most part, they're getting it. And as adults, as we read the script, or when it airs and you see us act it out, you'll be able to interpret it on your own and be like, this is deeper than what they're expressing. Basically, she's crying and he's like, why were you, well, she stopped crying. He's like, why were you crying before? And she's like, Emmanuel will do whatever he wants to me and Catherine won't do anything. She said, I'm a girl, I have no control. And they start talking. She starts to ask him, why do you like playing with this so much, the bracelets? And he said, I don't know, I have fun with it. And then she asks him, are you gay? And it makes him very uncomfortable. So he goes, leave me alone. And he shuts down. And then he just puts the thing to the side. He doesn't want to play with it anymore. And long story short, I didn't mean to say long story short. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so basically, they end up talking more and about how they wish that there was another world, another place, somewhere better, that there has to be more to life. And they're not saying those things, but they're saying like, I wish there was another world or like another this or that. When you're a child, whatever's around you, that's what the world is. Which at the same time is not true. It's true, but then it's not, because we create so much that we believe that the world is bigger than what it is. But at the same time, what's around you, that's all you know, physically, So basically, Mackenzie tells her, he goes, someone in their family, she died in the river near the home that they live in. And they were told that she went to a better place. So they think that that's their way to go to a better place. So at sunrise, 5:30 a.m., they plan to sneak out. And they plan to go to a better place in this river. They have things packed, but what they're doing is committing suicide. So it's attached to a waterfall, by the way. I should have mentioned that. So basically they go, they plan it out, the little kid planning. They go to the river and they stop. And Liza goes, this is us. And Liza goes, when we get where we're going, I hope I could be queen, or I could either be a witch and Hex Emmanuel, which is their uncle. And then she goes, maybe you could be a girl. And then Mackenzie goes, I don't care what I am as long as I'm able to do what makes me happy. So they're about to get in. And then they see a monarch flying by. And then they just chase it until they forget about what they were going to do. And then they go back home. So meaning that the small things in life are what can bring us to better places. And if that didn't happen, they would have committed suicide, whether they noticed or not, or knew it or not. And something as small as a monarch shifted their focus, and they chased it until they forgot about what they were going to do, and they just went back home. It's very short though, but it's very beautiful. I was very happy to write something like that, something so meaningful, and have her play it out with me. But yeah, it was really fun to do. It was a really fun exercise.
I definitely look forward to when you post that one, like thoroughly. I'll be looking out for that one. So I really like how that it all correlated so beautifully, like the monarch and the little things and the analogy, and also just that also being the story that you were creating. It's so symbolic, and like that's great. That's like one of those Academy Award winner short films right there. I'm loving it. And you said that you'd play the character Mackenzie, right?
Yeah.
Nice, nice. I love Mackenzie as like Just a name in general, like for a girl or a guy. It's I don't know why it's so enigmatic to me, but Mackenzie's dope. That's a really nice one.
I would play him, like an older version of him, and continue the story.
Hmm.
And I guess talk about or portray things that his journey as an artist and the internalized fears, shame, and overcoming all that stuff and keeping myself in mind. That's really how I wrote his character, keeping myself in mind.
One of my many dream roles, because a lot of my dream roles involve characters that I'm currently creating in the multiverse. Uh, I'm gonna just push those aside because that's a really long story. But the ones that are already in existence, I would love to do Miles Morales Spider-Man. That is my absolute dream. If they ever did a live action for Black Spider-Man, oh, I want it so bad. And that's pretty much it. Other than my own creations, my passion role would be Miles Morales.
That's with
High school, like I said, I was on the marching band, and I was a leader on the marching band. I was highly looked up to. I had near immaculate form. I really took pride in it, and it was my main sport in high school. I played almost everything, but marching band was the one thing I stuck consistent to. And if I had to drop a sport, I was dropping it for that. And so, long, I need to stop saying long story short when I lose train of thought. But a moment in my life that was truly powerful. So many different moments that are just like it is pretty much how it works. You start off the season in the summer and there's band camp. And then when you start going to school, you have practices pretty much Monday through Thursday, every day after school. And when football season starts, it's every Friday you do the football games. But at practice, we pretty much learn drill and I'm sure you've seen like marching bands. They pretty much have different dots and different places they go to make different shapes and stuff while playing music and stuff. And so when we were very competitive and we did competitions. And so we had show music and we had like an entire theme and the color guard had their theme and stuff. And so there's always a point in the season, like near the end of the season, around end of November, and you're going to your last few competitions and it starts raining really hard. So you have to do like an exhibition. And so a lot of the rehearsals are no longer outside on the fields because the fields are flooding. So we're in the auditorium, pretty much marking time, all synchronized together and stepping out on our drill marks. And when we stop, we do like the different visuals and stuff, but we do it in place. And so a beautiful, very, very powerful, indescribable thing is the unity at the end of the year. The like we're all playing in tune. We have the quiet moments in the piece, and we build up, and we work so well together. And there's like 130 of us in total. We got the percussion, the battery, and there's so many different instruments, so many different beings, personalities. Every single person learns every single instrument differently, but we all come together and like the the feeling when everything is in tune and everything is just perfect and we're all like synced up and stepping out at the same time. It was just like so beautiful. And it truly made me as an artist. I'm like, this is the stuff I need. When I start making and composing music for my different movies, I would love to conduct them and be up there and be the one that's writing the music and so on and so forth. And it's a big foundation to my creativity and my artistry, just learning that instrument and learning it to the point where I could play with so many people and make something so beautiful, something I could not do without them. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's always fulfilling when you have that moment of like, this is it. Like, this is, like when you feel inspired by something and then there's like nothing that could change your mind about it or anything that could hold you back. It's like you feel alive. And then that's just what it is. As being an artist, that's when you feel alive. So it's just like, I want to feel inspired all the time. And that's just really what that boils down to. That's a beautiful, thank you for sharing that experience with me. It's funny that you say long story short when losing your train of thought, because I do the same thing. And I did it earlier too. Now, I did write something that I do want to share with you. and it's perfect for our conversation. So I actually wrote this last night. This is the last thing that I wrote in this book, and it's titled "What Does It Mean to Be a Black Man and Live in Love" by Darrell. Okay. What does it mean to be a Black man and live in love? To be a Black man and live in love means that I'm telling my 10-year-old cousin that he can. To be a Black man and live in love means that I join Black women as caregivers. To be a Black man and live in love means that I must express my truth. To be a Black man and live in love means that I must address my childhood trauma. To be a Black man and live in love means that I shall always remember that the beautiful woman who raised me was once a child too. That's it.
That was beautiful. That was amazing. I really, really liked that. I
Me-
wasn't expecting it to be like so short and sweet, but that truly wrapped it up and just made it so nice. It was could you say that one more time? Could you do it one more time?
Okay.
I hate to ask, but that was I need to get it.
I've been writing a lot of things that are short and sweet nowadays. Okay. What does it mean to be a Black man and live in love? To be a Black man and live in love means that I'm telling my 10-year-old cousin that he can. To be a Black man and live in love means that I join Black women as caregivers. To be a Black man and live in love means that I must express my truth. To be a Black man and live in love means that I must address my childhood trauma. To be a Black man and live in love means that I shall always remember that the beautiful woman who raised me was once a child too.
It's powerful.
I hope I didn't go too fast.
No, you did. That was a great pace. You're good. Oh, that makes me want to write. That's inspiring right there. Be a Black man and live in love. Oh yeah. Sounds like it could be lyrics to a song as well. Like it sounds like it could be something you'd sing.
Hmm. Maybe I'll talk to Shadi about that.
Dude, she's got an amazing voice. Oh yeah, as always.
Honestly, she
Mm.
really does. It's so unique too. Like it's so unique, and we've been talking about possibly doing something. So maybe you, if so, you inspired it
Me?
by saying what you just said, saying that it sounds like it could be a song. So if we
Wait,
end up doing something like that, it was inspired by you.
this sauce is awesome and the beans are cool.
I want to think. So I do want to play a game with you, and what I'm gonna do is it's a fun exercise. I'm going to both of us. We're gonna take turns, and we're gonna say a sentence, and that the other person is going to just express whatever comes to mind as if it were a scene in a movie. Okay, so I'll start. Okay, I knew that it was time to express my true feelings.
Hmm. First thing that comes to mind is a story. Two best friends who knew each other since birth and live in the same neighborhood, but they're in the world of just many beings and magical things and many species. And they go to a same school, and this is the thing that he says in this. He's looking in like a reflection of a mirror in a bathroom, and he's saying this to himself because he finally wants to approach this girl, and he's shy. He's like, "I gotta confess my true feelings," and that's just the first thing that came to mind for me. Like, oh, this guy, boom.
I like that.
Did I do good? Did I do that right?
Yeah, you did good. It's
Awesome.
whatever you. This is your film.
All right, I'll do a sentence now. Okay, got you. The void of space is nothing but darkness, yet it is so beautiful.
Now I need a second. Hmm. The void of darkness. I mean, the void of space is nothing but darkness, and yeah, it is so beautiful. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. I got one. First thing that came to mind. Hmm. An 18-year. Okay. I don't know why I couldn't say that. An 18-year-old young man is sitting in his bedroom and he is heavily intoxicated, and that's been his way of bringing himself somewhere else or momentarily filling these voids. And he's so intoxicated that he's staring at a wall in front of him as he sits on the floor, and he sees the word love on the wall, and he's imagining it. And from that moment, he realizes what he's missing in his life.
I like what you did there. Yeah, very nice. That was, I need to step my game up. Ooh. No, but that was great. I like the way you worded it. I like the order in which you did it. It was very like, what's next? It's, you don't know. It was very unpredictable. Mm. Nice little smooth ending there. I see you. All right. Very nice. Your turn in the sentence.
Okay. Now I have to step my game up with the sentences because you gave me, yeah, that I didn't think I was gonna do that. I didn't think I was gonna get that one. Hmm, okay. Hmm. Leaving happiness behind, I push forward, hoping that there will be more.
Okay. Got it. Her name is Hanaru Shizen, or Hahanaru. You can roll the R if you want. But she is the deity of all nature on the planet. She's a very powerful being of the deity race, and she's looked up to. And her best friend in life, his name is Yami, and he is the deity of all darkness on the planet. He is the yin to the yang of his brother, and together they create balance throughout the world. And they're very important creatures, very powerful creatures. They protect man, and some despise them. But long story short, she's been aligned with Yami, but she sees and feels that his ways of life coincide with certain aspects of nature that she looks up to. So she decides that I'm going to have to move on and go out in the wild through my own way of life. And we can still interact and communicate, but I can no longer fight this war with you. I can no longer fight this side with you. So she says that to herself. She says, boom.
Wow, that was a good one. That you definitely stepped your game up. That was really good. Wow. Okay. Now you go. I will try to be that good. I don't know, but
The words of the wise heal me more than the eucalyptus from a hornet's sting.
one more time.
All right. The words of the wise heal me more than the eucalyptus heals the hornet's sting.
Belle loves to write. Belle loves to create. Belle finds herself. Belle was supposed to be a guy. I don't know why I said herself. Belle finds himself editing other people's work for them. And one day he is asked by someone very close to him, he is asked by his significant other, why do you sell yourself short? And from there, he gets highly offended and they begin to argue. And basically, what she's trying to tell him is that he is talented enough to just set himself out on faith and start to compose himself and write things and create things on his own instead of fixing other people's work. And after their argument is done, he goes onto the balcony and he just cries. He just cries and cries and cries. And he begins to vomit up what they were drinking that night. And he was crying not because he was upset, because he knew that she was right. Yeah, I think I did get it. So those are her words. She's the wise person.
I really, really, really enjoy that because not only did you get, oh, that was great. And you also got the hornet sting because the crying and his emotions and when he was out alone, like the realization, the story, that was good. That was real subtle, real nice. I would like that a lot.
Thank you.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't either, honestly. I really wasn't. Okay. So
Mm. I really enjoy the game.
yeah, me too.
Great.
All right. Let me see.
Mm.
This is a harsh one. Very short, but a harsh one. If I don't hide, I will die.
Ooh. The year is 2045. I am looking through the eyes of a young woman. She's about 17 or 18 years old, and she's been living a normal, great life. And everything is just pretty typical. You know, she is about to get out of high school, going to college, has both of her parents in her life, and everything is healthy and good. And there's a lot of things on TV that she's been watching recently on the news about our planet and the condition that it's in. And there's this one scientist that's always on TV talking about how the planet is alive and it has its white blood cells. And we don't know what these things are going to be, but I have my predictions, and the planet is alive. And we humans are a sickness. We are parasites, and we're hurting it, and we're suffocating it, and it will have white blood cells to come and get us. And so she sees this and she thinks to herself, and she's like emotional, and she talks about it with her friends and her family. She's like, what are we going to do about our planet? The oil that we use for our cars is the blood of the planet. It's going to use its white blood cells eventually. And so one day there's a global EMP and nothing works. New cars, all technology's done. There's no electricity anywhere. And all of a sudden, there are these creatures that just come from the earth, from the crevices of the earth, from the roots of the trees, and they're white. They're white in color, but they're so fast and mysterious and dangerous that there's nothing we can do. And so a lot of lives are lost and a lot of things are changing. But one thing uh, that's like these creatures really prey on is the fact that when you attack them, they get more aggressive. And so pretty much she's in the situation where she just has to hide and be completely docile and be completely friendly. And she, when the outbreak first starts and these creatures come from the ground, she's in her home and people are getting hurt that she knows, and she just hides, and she holds this charm that's very important to her that she's worn throughout her middle school years and her high school years, and she speaks to herself. She just says, "You will die," and that's the film. So,
Wow, wow. I didn't expect that at all. That was really, really good. Like I felt like I was watching the movie. I felt like I was watching the film. Wow, that was good. Wow, imaginative thinking. Do you see what you just created from like one little sentence? Wow, that was good. That was really, really good. All right. As much as I love this game, we're gonna do one more. So you'll go, and then we'll wrap up. So what do you have for me?
Okay, what sentence do I have for you? Whew. Hmm. To a bug, we humans are like gods, but we are truly feeble in existence.
Hmm. Phoebe and Adonis are they're sitting on a private island owned by their grandfather, and and they're having a heart to heart sitting in front of the ocean. Adonis is explaining to her that the way their family lives and the way their families operate and the lack of communication and acknowledgement of reality is overshadowed by perfection, greed, wealth, and expectations. Adonis is explaining to her that the reason why he couldn't come to her wedding is because he was very sick. And she said that she knew that, but he explained to her what their mother really meant by that. He attempted suicide and he was getting treatment because he OD'd. He overdosed, I meant to say. And he he's explaining to her that he has been experiencing a genuine life after that, and he wants to rebuild the relationship based off of real connection and the way it was when they were children. And he's explaining to her that they they've been brainwashed all these years. Their judgments have been clouded. They've been told that in order to be happy and great people, you have to be wealthy and please your family. And that is not what he wants to live with. That's not the way he wants to live his life. So by the water, that's what he's explaining to her. And he's explaining that he experienced depression when he was a part of their family and had wealth and was able to travel all the time and buy expensive things and do anything that he wanted. And he experienced depression when he moved out and their parents paid for his expensive penthouse in New York City. And he experienced depression when he decided that he didn't want anything to do with their family and he was poor, meaning that wealth is not going to fulfill him or any of them. And he was experiencing depression with it and without it. And God is the only higher being. And God is not rich materialistically. So that says a lot to him. And that's what he's trying to convey to her.
That was great. That was, I don't want to use the same term again, but wow, like so powerful once again. That was just an emotional powerhouse. It's very connecting. You had the names right off of the bat as well. Ooh, and I really like that because there's room for like when they were on the beach and they were speaking to one another. There's room for flashbacks and cutting to scenes and showing these things, and that's a really nice one. That'd make a great film. So that could be an emotional masterpiece, really, truly. I like that. How you did that in the order and everything you did it.
I know I said this is the last one, but I really do want to hear you do one more. If that's okay.
I don't mind. Challenge accepted.
Okay. Okay. I've decided to leave behind everything that does not serve me with just a pen and a pad, just a pen and a notebook in my backpack. I walk for 16 days.
My name is Kenshin, and I'm a messenger of the Crimson Dynasty. I'm currently living in a time that's 2,385 years before the 21st century. Things are different. We're warriors. We're strong. We fight in wars. We use magic and we fight in battles, but I can't do any of that. Even though I am the son of the great Hikari, the deity of light, one of the most powerful beings on the planet, they all expect me to be something I'm not. But I wasn't born with power. I was born actually quite mortal. They call me human all the time. They tease me, and I'm just a messenger. Going on another mission. Yeah, woo. And so today is my birthday. And my deity of a father, instead of saying happy birthday and, telling me to stay here and party with him and his fellow people he's having over, he's sending me on a mission. And little does he know, I don't plan on coming back from this mission. Not only does it seem like a suicide mission, but if I survive, I'm still not coming back. So he throws a journal to my feet. I pick it up, I pack my bag, and I decide that no matter what happens, I'm never returning here. I'm not appreciated, things are different, and I'm weak. People like to take advantage of that. I'm almost human pretty much. And so put on my backpack, I put my journal and my pen inside of it, and I decide that this is my journey of self. And anyone, regardless of what you are or who you are, if you are not for me and the betterment of my being, then I shall be without you. So I walked through the chamber between and the walls, and the doors closed behind me, and I went on this mission as a messenger, walking 16 days.
You want to know something? I almost forgot the sentence that I gave. I honestly was so wrapped up in the story until you said I walked 16 days. I was like, oh, I mentioned that. But yeah, that was beautiful. You said this is something that you're working on?
Yes, it is something that I'm working on. It's pretty much a series of 4 films. The last one, the film is like the first episode of the series, but it is the very first one, and it's called The Story of Kenshin. And it also is in relation to another one that I used earlier with Yami and Hanaru, the deity of all nature on the planet. That's all in the same planet and universe, and it's a big one. And the main character Kenshin is supposed to be like an animated version of me during this time. And and his father is the brother of Yami, and so they are pretty much the yin and yang, the polar opposites of all balance in the deity race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. I can't wait for this to be present in front of me so I could see.
Actually, after this, I could send you some of the storyboards I've done of some of the characters, and I've started working on manga shots, and I have a lot of the scripts, so I can show you like all the pictures I've drawn so far too.
Please.
If you,
Oh, that sounds amazing. And what I love about them is that although these are going to be animations, right?
yes, at first.
The beautiful thing about it is that they're real. You know, they represent each of us, which is what I love. Like, it's like watching your favorite TV show. Like I talk about One Tree Hill. The characters
Mhm.
are real to me. They represent things that I've been through or feel, or the next person, you know? And that's what I love about this. Like when you were explaining which sentence was that I said about leaving happiness behind, and then you talked about
Mhm.
their relationship and her feeling like, you know, she couldn't accommodate with certain things that he his lifestyle and his purpose and his sense of action. um like I love that because it represents the time you feel like, damn, you know, I love this person, but it's, you know, like I can't. And
Exactly.
it, it's so I thought about moments that I've had, or that I things that I know about. It's beautiful. And I know there's children like, what's the guy's name in the last name?
Kenshin.
Is he like, would you say he's like a child or?
Well, the start of his story starts when he's just turning 19. Well, one day before his birthday when he turns 19.
Okay. The thing about that is like, I know there's a lot of younger people who feel like they're not appreciated, or um they feel dehumanized in their homes, and they say, okay, you know, I have to go. It's like, you know, when you're young, your parents, they do things with your best interest at heart. But when there's no one doing that for you, you have to take the initiative and be like, okay, I'm gonna go because nobody's protecting me. I have to protect myself. And that's beautiful. That's really, really amazing. Like, I really do want to experience that.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to telling you more, telling you when I start releasing the manga. And just, I'd love to spill the beans about any point in the process and showing you the storyboards. I look forward to it as well. And thank you so much for liking it and for also inviting me here and having me here. This has been amazing. I'd love to do it again, and it's new, but it's healthy. It's factual. It's positive, and it's a lot of it's something I need. It's great timing and so many relatable things, and it's also great to know and understand you and your experiences and your own stories that can be relatable and correlated. That can be totally different. It's still like a great, awesome process. And it's Darrell, right?
Darrell.
Darrell. Oh gosh, I'm so bougie. Sorry.
I mean, I'm drinking an energy drink out of a wine glass, so okay. Um, yeah, thank you for doing this with me. Thank
Mhm,
you for being on, and especially because you and I, you know, we didn't talk much prior to this, and
mhm.
like phone conversation we had. So, you know, you being open minded, it was just like, you know, I guess you knew this was a chance for us to actually get to know each other. And I'm grateful for that. Honestly, after seeing the conversation that you had via Instagram Live, I was thinking about it because I was working on this project. I don't know if I started filming for it yet. I don't even think I reached out to people about it yet. I think at that time I was thinking about it and I was already planning it. And when you did that, I was like, I already had like names written down of who I really wanted to be a part of it. And when I saw that, I was just thinking about it. I was like, I really, really think that we need to sit down. I really, really do. And it just, you guys also inspired me with that live. It made me want to do this even more, I believe. I'm not sure if I started yet or not. I don't think so. I really, really don't. If I did, then you inspired me more. But I just remember feeling that positive sense of that affirmation that putting yourself in front of other people and just sharing the truth is worth it. Because, like I said, that day, you know, I was having a very slow day. I didn't feel as um, good or energetic, and my mindset wasn't as positive. And then watching you guys, it was just, it kind of changed the way that it changed the way that I felt that day. And it just hearing people who understand and being able to connect the way that we did, even without me speaking physically, it was just a really good feeling. So I was just like, this is something important. This is something that we should talk about. So I want to ask him. And there's times where I thought about it, but I was like, maybe I will. But I didn't do it yet. And then when I did, things fell into place. So I'm just really grateful for you doing this. I'm grateful for you in general, putting yourself out there and being a creative. And even though this is like our first time actually having a conversation, like I've seen your stuff for a while, and I'm just grateful for your creativity.
Hey, I can say the same. I'm definitely most grateful for like your energy, your positivity, your transparency, your honesty, like just the personality and all the things that have made it. Some of the stories that you told me today, it's all a learning experience, and it's like not only do ourselves physically apply to what we are, but the number of cells that we have in our body are very similar to the things that make us up out in the real world as well. The tiny experiences in every single moment in our life just feeds into who we are and who we become. So like for you to be who you are today as you are and have all of those little pieces create the amalgamation that's you, it's like that is dope. That is dope. You had a great journey to become yourself, and it's like you're still ascending, and it's like you're an inspiration. You always have been. Like when your profile name was Creator F, it was like creator. Boom. See the aesthetics. I see the vision, and it's great to finally meet you, and I highly appreciate everything. It's been great. Look forward.
Thank you. I definitely agree. And I really appreciate everything.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we definitely have to stay connected. I definitely believe so.
For sure. Well, if anything, I'm gonna be sending you. I already got my art like right here on my table, so I'm gonna be sending you shots of like some characters like in a few minutes, maybe less than that. But I lost some sunlight, as you can see. I had to turn on the lamp, and now I'm all yellow looking in one shade of evilness. But it's been a joy every moment. It's been great.
Same. I'm grateful. Very, very grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Again, thank you so much for doing this with me. And I really appreciate you. And once again, I'm Darrell.
And I'm Devon.
And this is A Little for the World.
Bear it all for me. Get naked for the world to see. Write a song in company. So many days be wild and free. Go ahead, baby, do it proud. Let your head down, sing it loud. Never stop at the world.